Welcome in. It is day 109, and you're speaking with the Meeples Champion. And on October 27th, we are finally getting around to a game that clearly had to be here. I just hadn't been able to get my hands on it. We really want to get into these different types of themes and darkness levels for this month, and this is one that just is perfect. That game is the original Horrified. Now, Horrified is a co-op game where the concept is that you are doing a pick up and deliver. The difficulty is based on how many villains you choose to face. So if you only want to face one or two villains, it's going to be very easy. Whereas if you choose to pull out 3 or 4 or 5, your difficulty level is rising. Your player count is the same, whatever if you're playing 3 or 4 or 5. But if you're playing against the full count of monsters, you've got to try to beat all these guys with the limited resources on the board that are at max monster going to be basically just enough. And you still have to do it in the right order or else you're in trouble. Every monster's a little different. You could be facing Frankenstein or Bride of Frankenstein or the Invisible Man or Werewolf Man. And so there's a bunch of different villains. And the concept is that you're in the town, all of you are spread out, and each villain has a different way to beat it. So, for instance, the swamp monster is going to be all about trying to collect things and slowly deliver the right colors at the right time to move your way through the swamp. And when you get to the end of the swamp, his character gets bumped off the board. Now, the issue is that it's difficult. You're dealing with yellow, blue, and red, I believe, as your main colors. And some of them, it's random. Some of them, it's a very specific order. Others, it's just, oh, this is what we need, but you can do it in whatever grouping you want, whenever you want. And so as you do this, the monsters get turns, and they have to move towards the people that are closest to them, or whatever the game says at the time. The swamp monster gets an advantage because he can go through water, so you might think you're far away from all the monsters, and all of a sudden he just cuts right across a lake, and you're like, oh no, he's right on top of me. So you do what you need to do to defeat them, and then you pull them from the board. But you only have so many turns, so every time that they get you, you basically have to restart your person. They're going to have to start from a different location, which means all the stuff was left behind, so it's hard to go get that and gather it and continue what you were doing. And it's really a timed game. The first time I played this, we did beat the game, but we were playing it on an easy level, and we beat it literally just ahead of the clock. It was like everybody took their turn. The last one in the round was the last turn. They just beat them, and if we hadn't done it, we were going to lose. So it was to the wire, and that was the easy game. It's a fun game. But let's jump right in. Let's talk about our 7 categories and see if this really lands for us. The art of this game is fantastic. The cover really sells that old school monster feel. It's funny to me because I was part of the new school monsters as a kid. I was getting into them, and they had those for the Freddys, the Jasons, the Michael Myers, all these next levels that were kind of replacing the oldies. But I knew them, and I watched them. I actually prefer these ones to those ones. But, my kid isn't really going to know, and a lot of the younger generation doesn't really know these as well. The classics. If you're talking about Dracula, yes, we know Dracula. We know vampires. They're popular. But, the Invisible Man, I don't think a lot of kids today know who the Invisible Man was. The Werewolf Man. I mean, they know what werewolves are, but the Werewolf Man, they don't really know what that concept is. So it's cool to bring this old school cover that grabs the attention of the older generation, but the younger generation also kind of looks at it and goes like, oh man, that's kind of cool. I know a little bit of it, but not everything, and they get to learn a bit. I like that. So I think that sells the game, and the inside of the game is great. Everything really is just continuing that dark, old school, Halloween theme. Thumbs up. The components are really good. Now, this game is pretty much 100% all about the cardboard. But there's nothing wrong with cardboard, and they do a really good job with it. I think the cardboard holds up. There's no worry about this stuff breaking. They didn't go cheap on it. It's a thumbs up. The price is that this is a pretty fair game. It's right around $40. That's not bad. You're going to find it in Targets. You're going to find this in your Walmarts. You're going to find this in your Barnes and Noble. It's out there. And it's going to be in a lot of stores. Now, the problem is that, well, I think you'll find Horrified in most game stores. Horrified, the original version, is kind of died out. They've done now this next version up with like Sasquatch and aliens and stuff for the American Horrified. It's the same game, just new baddies. There's nothing different about the game, just about who you're facing. And people prefer the original, but there's nothing wrong with the new one. The new one's the one in stores right now. The older one is a little harder to get, just because they kind of invested into the next stage up, that next Horrified. There will be a re-release of this at some point, so I'm not worried about you not being able to get it. Got to give it a thumbs up. Great pricing. The difficulty's all up to you. That's what I like. I'm not a huge co-op person, but I liked it for this style with the pick up deliver, multiple monsters. We weren't feeling like somebody was taking the lead. But no matter what level you are, you can just set the game to your level. If you're playing with a kid, just make sure you play with only the 2 monster setup, so it's not that hard and the kid can at least compete. You know, it's the same thing with a beginner. But if you're playing with experienced players, with experts, just bump up the monster level. It's really well designed in that way to make it so that every level can play the game. You might not be able to always mix levels, but once in a while, hey, we have one beginner. The beginner is going to play with the experienced players on a level or 2 higher than usual, you know, and they might ask for some advice, but in general, they can play. Or you have a bunch of beginners and one experienced or expert player, and they just play at a lower level, and they get to have a little easier game. I think it's fine. It works really well. Thumbs up. The replayability is where this one hits for me. I don't really want to play this game outside of October. And in October, I'm not playing this game repetitively. I'll play this once. I think it's a great game, and some people might love it for that reason. But for me, it's a thumbs down. Your keys to victory, while there are lots of monsters and you can pick which one you want to go after, at the end of the day, your keys to victory are simply just pick up and deliver. It's not like you have other options. It's fine. It does what it does very well, but it's not like you're going to have a way of doing something really different. The only technical way to really go in here is who you're going to take out first. And that does make a difference because the pieces are going to be getting kind of jammed up based on, well, we're doing the swamp, and so every piece that's been dropped is stuck in the swamp. So you might have to be really strategic on your keys to victory, making sure how to target when to drop what color piece where. But beyond that, it is what it says it is. I don't feel like there's a clear-cut better or worse way. Thumbs up. Is this game unique? I have not played many pick up and deliver games. So for me, the theme mixed with that on top of a co-op does feel unique. But I know there's now the American Horrified. I've heard that other co-ops are about picking up and delivering things in order to get them done. I haven't really played much of Forbidden Desert or Forbidden Island. I played each once years ago. But I believe, if I recall correctly, those were like you have to get things to certain locations. So I don't think this is going to stand out on the unique factor, even though for me it's unique. So I'm going to give it the thumbs down. Overall, what do I think of this game? I think if you could find the original version for $40, pick it up. It's worth it. It's a fun game, you know, and I think everybody will enjoy it. But that's just my opinion. It's up to you guys to get out there, find the game, and see if you enjoy it. Well, it is day 109. We've been speaking about the game Horrified, and you've been speaking with the Meeples Champion. Like, share, subscribe, and check down below in the description where you'll be able to find an Amazon link to pick up this game. If not this version, the American Horrified version. Until next time, I'll talk to you tomorrow. We're good.